I'm still trying to get an understanding, and maybe y'all can help me.
Okay.
How old is the transfer portal?
Ah,
I don't know, 5, 6 years. I
5.
don't know,
But
4 or
of the
5 years.
current iteration
Yeah, the
where
current
you can play
iteration
at two
where,
schools,
yeah, 4 or 5 years.
three
I
or
can't
four.
really remember.
Okay, well, it feels like I just got like I'm still understanding. Like I've
Fair.
gotten to the point where I dislike tradition. I'm gonna tell you what I mean. I dislike tradition.
Okay.
The way I grew up and the way that I played football, you had 4 years of college eligibility. If you wanted to move on to another university, regardless of what it is, depending on where you move up or down, you had to sit out a year. Gone are the days where players like in the SEC, where like the Cam Newtons, where they're on a roster for a couple of years, they have that one great year, and they go on to do a lot of things. I'm gonna tell you why I've been. It's blowing my mind. What I didn't expect. What I didn't expect is every year at the end of the season, I have to now hope that none of my players leave the team and the damn coach doesn't leave. So it's making things worse in my opinion because it's easy for Auburn or LSU to come in to a Memphis and say, "Hey, I like your quarterback," and then now that starting quarterback that just threw for 97,000 yards that you thought you was gonna have a stellar season the next season is now not there. They've transferred. I'm gonna tell you what I mean by this. I've heard so many rumors that so many players from the University of Memphis, including the coach, are going to other places. And part of me was like, hey, they can't do that because I'm still stuck on tradition. And then the other part of me is just like, you know what? Good for them. They use the university as a stepping stone to get to where they want to get to. Because if it was me, I would be happy if it was me. But because it's not me, I'm like, what the hell are they doing?
One, first, rather than hating or being annoyed by the new status of every season ending and feeling as if you have to send a wish and hope into the atmosphere that the coach will stay, the players will stay. I think it creates a very fun off season, not fun, a challenging off season, but an entertaining off season because it becomes a matter of is your team or is the team that you root for in a position where players feel as if they can go there and play meaningful minutes and play for a winning program. And if you're not in that place, then guess what? You're not going to be a very attractive location when it comes to the transfer portal. When it comes to Memphis, one of the specific things with one of the biggest stories of potential transfers this offseason, Tevin Carter, the backup quarterback, he's from Memphis, announces that he's entering the transfer portal. And I think it always hits a little extra when it's someone who's from Memphis, who chose to stay and go to the University of Memphis and now is looking for a new opportunity. Wouldn't you think that Tevin Carter is likely looking for a new opportunity because he's been led to believe that Seth Hennigan would be coming back for another year? So if Tevin Carter wants to play next season, he would have to find somewhere else.
Well, you're not understanding what I'm saying though. Like this is what if you're second string at Memphis, where the hell are you gonna go and play that's up? Like normally people
But
play
you might
up.
not go play up. You might go play
You
just somewhere
normally
where you can
people play
play.
up. Like that's usually with the new current transfer portal status, you play up because there's a lot of players that I've seen in the transfer portal that were starters that put up crazy numbers. I think it was the Utah quarterback or something like that. Like not the Utah Utes, but some quarterback in Utah. I guess he threw for like a million yards or
A
something.
million.
He entered the transfer portal and now he's going to like a bigger school. Like
Okay.
normally people play up. I don't know where the like the playing the hey I just want to play.
I think in the new landscape, you're going to see a lot of people, and just to keep it local, which helps people put actual names and faces with this. Let's say somebody like a Tevin Carter goes down first, right? Either with a lesser American school, or you're looking at a Conference USA school, or a Sun Belt school, or a MAC school, and you go and you play. And now, because you can transfer once more, then you end up in a scenario where perhaps you can go to a big school when you're more experienced and you're one of these old man quarterbacks on a college football team, and then you have the opportunity to carve out your path in that capacity. I am always going to be of, and especially in a situation where, yes, players have the opportunity to get paid courtesy of NIL, and that's wonderful, but until they're operating as employees of these universities officially in an official capacity and getting paid, they should be able to go wherever they think they have the best opportunity at carving out playing time for themselves, NIL deals for themselves. And I know that's so hard to break from the tradition and how it always was, but it's just part of the evolving system. And when you see these coaches jumping around and making millions and millions of dollars, it's really hard to come down on the kids on that side of it.
Well, see, I'm looking at it from this standpoint, Jessica, and it's wild. It's fascinating to me because I don't think this has happened. It hadn't happened yet,
Okay.
but it's going to happen at some point. With how tradition works, at some point, university is going to have to make a decision between Caleb Williams and that head coach. So if Caleb Williams come in and say, "Hey, if we don't get rid of this head coach, I'm transferring. Like, I can't take this. I can't deal with this." What do?
So how good is the coach?
Yeah.
How good is the player? Who's the better one?
Make the valuation.
You pick the better one. What do you mean? If it's Cam Newton and Gene Chizik, guess what? Gene, you're fired. Cam, come back. Don't go. Please don't leave me.
Please stay.
Please stay.
Who would you like to be the coach?
If it's Nick Saban and Coker, you got a transfer player. You out. Bye. Like that's the way it works. It all just depends on how good everything is. If it's Caleb Williams and Lincoln Riley, if Caleb Williams goes to USC right now and says, "Hey, yo, I don't like Lincoln Riley. It's not working for me no more. Defense is letting me down too much. I got one more. Let's play pretend Caleb got. Well, no, let's use it. Caleb, I got one more year eligibility. I will leave. I will absolutely leave and transfer or go pro. Fire Lincoln Riley right now. If you're USC, you got to sit down and you got to talk about it. Like, I don't know. What are we going to do? I would assume they say, "Bye, Caleb. Thank you for all that you've done."
Maximum, you give us one more year. You're going to end up going to the NFL.
And that's the difference in professional sports in the college landscape is eventually those dudes are absolutely leaving. You can't keep them for past
Unfortunately, you can't be in college forever.
Yeah, no, you can't. So they
as much
are
as
leaving.
I wish.
Is this what this player giving us in this short time span? Is it long enough? Is it good enough to where we can build something on top of it, even if we let this coach go? And that's a decision that you got to make as a university.
I only came up with it because I was watching a Travis Hunter interview.
God.
And he was talking about them next year and how good they would be. And I was like, I wonder if Travis came out and he said, "Hey, you know what? I'm leaving unless y'all fire Deion Sanders." That's serious.
Yeah.
Like,
well, that's a nonsensical hypothetical because he's attached to Deion Sanders.
Right. I mean, we understand that, but like at the same time, there's a lot of good players on bad teams that want to win. And instead of transferring, they feel like, hey, it's the coaches. And then if I go to the president and I say, "Hey, I've done all these things, I'm transferring unless you fix the coach," I now have the same power that the coach had.
It'll be a wild world.
I don't know.
I don't foresee that ever being a consistent, legitimate threat, and there can always be outliers to that. But because of what CJ brought up, like a coach can stay somewhere forever in college football. It rarely happens, but they don't have an end date to lifespan. A college football player has an end. Like there's the next level. They can't play for their entire lives, so you can't push all your chips in on one player for the short period of time that they play at that school. If it's a question, like let me be clear, like if there's a coach who's just has a total bum of a record and isn't working, that's why they move on from coaches. But you're talking about usually with those high profile players, they're playing for at bare minimum competitive schools.
I'll give you Miami, University of Miami. If their star player decided to come out and say, "Hey, this coach ain't doing it. I'm tired of losing. I can go to all these other Florida schools and make a way, and like what we have to do something. You have to make a move. If not, I'm gonna make that move." Then what do?
I think at this point, like there's an exodus currently happening at Miami. Like I think Tyler Van Dyke, their quarterback, is leaving, and I think there have been a number of Miami football players who have already entered the transfer portal. And that's a question for Mario Cristobal. And if the players have given up on him and if he can rebuild a team that competes in Miami. But that's part of the game of college football.
That blows my mind that you're still using language like that in the college landscape. Like, because it's not the same as it used to be in tradition. What I mean by you saying like, hey, the players giving up on them or this or that, like right now, college is operating under the NFL rule in terms of what can not the player do for me, but what can your university do for the player now? Like when I come in, how much can you pay me? What do the facilities look like? How are you treated? Like it's all about the player now. And I don't have a problem with that at all. My thing is that you can't say that a player gave up on you or not giving up on you, especially with the lingo Deion Sanders has been using. Like, hey, if you don't get it done, I'll get somebody in here that can, and I'll cut you. Like it's a NFL type feel. So you can't use the players gave up on me because you can go to the transfer portal and get players that'll play for you. So you can't use
and vice
that
versa,
anymore
those
as an
players
excuse.
Can go to the transfer portal and find somewhere else that they have better opportunities.
Yeah, and it's all about for the longest time, for damn near all of college athletics. We're talking about college football, so I'll keep it there. For all of college football's history, it's the power dynamic has been very one-sided.
Yes.
It's been the coaches and the university. So a Coach Prime can say, hey, I'm going to go out there and get better players. And in the past, you'd have to sit there and eat it if you were on the roster. There was nothing you could do. Narduzzi and Pitt could say, hey, we're not good enough because of the talent. I'm going to go out there and find some more talent. He could say that, and you'd have to sit there as a player, and there's nothing you can do about it because of the way the transfer rules were set up. Now it is, oh, okay, you need better players? I need a better university also. I need better coaching. I need better facilities. So you go find what you need to find, and I'm going to go find what I need to find. And I think that is a good thing for not only the health of the sport, but for the players. And that's what this thing started as, and what we keep forgetting is, hey, this is supposed to be a way for young people to continue to grow in a field and become experts, not just experts in biology or literature or English or social work, but become experts in this particular sport so that they can go to the next level. And if it's not set up and catered to the athletes, to the students, I don't know why it is in existence. I know why, to make the money. And because we care about it and we're willing to give our time and our money to it. But it really should be focused. It should be more player-centric, more player-focused. And I think that allowing players to transfer in this sort of a way, I think it helps them. I do, and I think it's good.
It's one of the only things that sits in that place because it's one of the only things they can do, right?
Yes. It's interesting because and the only reason why this even came up because I was watching a documentary on Michigan's Fab Five. Yeah. In the landscape in today, that will never happen.
Right.
But then I thought about it. I go, what if we have a LeBron James type in college where they decided like, hey, I'm finna collect Avengers of all the great players from around other universities and say, hey, we're going to go to one school. We're going to go to this school and we're going to turn it upside down. There's nothing that nobody can do to stop that.
You've also seen cases where, and I'm trying to, something that happened at USC a couple of years ago when Lincoln Riley gets hired. So there's a coach that is dictating a new feel around a program. He brings with him Caleb Williams. And then Caleb Williams essentially recruited Jordan Addison, who now is with the Minnesota Vikings, but had won the Biletnikoff Award at Pitt? Yeah, I believe it was at Pitt.
Yeah.
So that was someone that Caleb had a relationship with, wanted a number one receiver to come with him to USC, and you saw that happen. So, that happens in a variety of situations. We just haven't seen it where it's like one player who gets everyone. Who's like, hey, let's come build this super team.
Tom Brady type.
Tom Brady type. Or LeBron's a good example from a different point, from a different sport. But just the impact level or who's the Kevin Durant who's going to go join the team that's already like the Warriors of college football and comes in. But again, because of players being at different years of eligibility, players at different places in their careers, some wanting to jump to the NFL, it's hard to have that kind of continuity when it comes to college football. Whereas, if you've all been playing for 5+ years and then can make those decisions, it's a little bit easier in terms of building a super team. And that's where ultimately your super team is how many 5-stars do you have? And that's why teams like Georgia have been so successful over these last couple of years. That's why a Michigan is as successful as it is. It's why it's so frustrating.
Not Michigan. They've got.
This year, I feel like they finally bought in
They don't
to
have,
beat Ohio State because Ohio State gets the 5 stars.
They don't have a bunch of 5-stars on roster. When you look at the roster breakdown, I think like 80% of Georgia. I have the numbers written down. I could go grab my notebook and confirm this. But I think when you look at rosters like Georgia and Alabama, 75, 76, 77% of their rosters, throw Texas A&M in there also, are 5-star and 4-stars. But when you look at Michigan's
right.
roster is down there around like 50% of their roster is a blue chip or better. It's a 4 or a 5-star.
The Jessica Benson Show with CJ Hurt, live every weekday at 8 a.m.